Our closing session for the conference is with Mr. Kunal Behel, founder of Snapdeal, in conversation with Ashish Chalani, eTailing India CEO. Kunal Behel is the co-founder and CEO of Snapdeal.com. In February 2010, Kunal, along with Rohit Bansal, started Snapdeal, India's largest online marketplace with the widest assortment of products from thousands of regional, national, and international brands and retailers. With over 20 million members, Snapdeal.com is the shopping destination for internet users across the country, delivering to 4,000 plus cities and towns in India. Please enjoy our last session. Thank you.
So welcome, Kunal.
Thank you.
Just wanted to get a few insights from you. So when you started Snapdeal, why did you start off with the model of discount coupons and all? What was the thought behind that?
So we were actually running a coupon book business before that. So we actually didn't know how to do anything else. It was really as simple as that. A lot of our merchants started calling us and saying that, hey, why don't you sell the same stuff that you sell on books in booklets online? And that's the reason we said, okay, well, worth trying. And I think 8 days later we launched Snapdeal. And actually back then I think the courier infrastructure in India was not as developed. So it was probably in hindsight the right business to start off with as well, because once you buy something, all you have to do is send someone an email. There's no physical delivery of products involved. Of course, the market has changed now, and along with that has our business.
So leading into the other question, why change on to the marketplace model that you're adopting now?
So I think we were, at least the way I look at it is, we were always a marketplace, right? We were a marketplace for different kinds of merchants earlier. Marketplace for local services merchants. Now we've become a marketplace in addition for products merchants. What I didn't expect, however, would happen is that the products business would take off so fast. I think that was a huge surprise for us. A very positive one, but a huge surprise for us. We used to think that, hey, let's start products because consumers are asking to buy products on Snapdeal, and some merchants who are our consumers of the deals business are saying, I want to list my products because I'm a manufacturer of watches or kurtis or saris or whatever. So our philosophy has always been very objective with our business, and we like to follow natural supply, natural demand, and we said, let's list these out and see where it goes. Initially we thought, best case scenario, our products business will be 10% of our total company. Right now it's 99%.
Wow. And what is going to be the differentiating factor between you guys and your competition like Flipkart and others?
I always feel that I don't think competition is going to give us money. I think our customers will. So we tend to just be very focused on that. I think it's always important to, however, know what is competition doing, which could be potentially discontinuous for their growth. And is there something that you can pick up in terms of innovation that you can adapt based on what you want to achieve in your business and implement it quicker and faster and better than competition. Outside of that, as long as we stick to our overall mission of providing great assortment at great prices and in a convenient manner to consumers, consumers will come to us, and as they are.
Great. What do you see still as the key challenges for Snapdeal as well as the whole e-com space in India?
The challenges may not be as homogeneous, right? The challenges could be quite different depending on who you are, what stage you are at. I think companies that haven't hit escape velocity in India, in e-commerce, which I define escape velocity as you're doing at least about $100 million in top line, or you have about 50 million in the bank. If you don't have either of these, then you haven't hit escape velocity. And it'll become increasingly hard to hit escape velocity because there are others in the market who have both. And hence the differentiation becomes very hard to create. And in this market, I mean, everyone knows that the e-commerce financing market has just fallen apart over the last year or so. And investors are hence very wary, or let me put it this way, there is a significant gravitational pull of capital towards companies that have already demonstrated scale.
Do you see that changing as well, the whole financial landscape?
I mean, I'm not the right person to ask because we've actually never really had significant trouble raising money. I mean, it doesn't mean it's been easy. I think it's, if the market's bad, even if your company is good, it takes a lot longer. There's a lot more negotiations that happen than otherwise in a good market environment. I think the environment will improve, as it always does. However, the environment will improve not to fund more e-commerce companies necessarily, like the bubble we saw in 2011, but the market will improve to fund more technology-oriented e-commerce enablers. I think that's really the trend in which the investors will be moving to, or e-commerce not in the form of shipping of physical products, but e-commerce in the form of enabling the connection of supply and demand in various other industries. Let's say, you know, now there are companies, a bunch of companies doing that for taxis, right? So, and there are people who are doing it in agricultural market, something that a company like ours would never do, right? But that's technically e-commerce, but not really e-commerce in the way most people would define it.
Is that where you see the e-commerce growth coming, towards these other industries or services versus the typical e-commerce that you're involved in?
No, I think both will grow, and their growth is mutually exclusive also. You know, there's $600 billion retail market in India, out of which only 7% is organized, and no single lifestyle fashion brand, or not many lifestyle fashion brands are over 1,000 crores in annual sales. And most of them are like 1 crore, 5 crore, 10 crore type regional city-specific brands. So there is an acute fragmentation both from a supply side and retail distribution standpoint. And the problem hence that the traditional e-commerce, or e-commerce generally is solving, in terms of physical product e-commerce is solving, is bridging the gap between supply and demand, which offline retail has not been able to bridge yet. Right? And companies like ours, which are marketplaces, are enabling to solve that problem even for offline retailers for that matter. Right? So a lot of large offline retailers partner with Snapdeal to actually reach these 4,000 towns and cities where they know realistically for some time to come they will not open stores.
So, I can ask some questions about Snapdeal. You recently acquired Shoppo.in, a very niche handicrafts marketplace. Is there a particular thought behind why you go after such a marketplace that's a niche player?
I think our philosophy at Snapdeal is very simple. We want to provide the widest assortment to consumers at the best prices, right? And when we looked at Shoppo, I mean, the team was very good, of course. They had a great set of investors, Sequoia, etc. But they built an interesting marketplace in a very interesting segment. Right? I'm of the belief that India has many, many, many really great art forms. However, these art forms will die over a period of time if they don't see the light of commercialization, right? Or the opportunity for these art forms to be able to supply locally but sell nationally. So we realized that they had a few thousand sellers, 1,000 plus sellers, and the overlap between their business, their sellers and our sellers was only 39 out of the 1,000. So they had done a tremendous job in bringing on board a large number of unique sellers who I'm sure they worked hard to educate about selling online, etc. So that was going to be purely incremental to our business, because if those sellers come and we connect that to our demand pipe, the transaction velocity for these sellers will increase, and we would offer our consumers greater unique assortment. So the thought process was very simple. It was actually, in my mind, a slam dunk. And we would keep doing more and more deals like these.
So you will continue to do deals like that to grow?
Absolutely. And now's a good market to do it, right? So I think our viewpoint is that anything that helps us to provide a great assortment to consumers or great prices and a convenient shopping experience, we'll be very aggressive with organic and inorganic growth.
So where do you see Snapdeal going in the next few years, next 5 years?
I think I can realistically only give a 4-quarter prediction, because that's what I keep telling our board. They keep asking me for 3-year projections, and I say I have no idea. Because if you asked me 1 year ago, would we be here where we are today, I'd be like, you're smoking something yummy. So, but I think the problem is that in our kind of businesses, the market itself is evolving so fast. There's so many forces at play here, right? With 4G coming in, I think that'll have a discontinuous impact on the internet penetration and henceforth the e-commerce penetration of India. But I think all other things equal, our goal is very, very simple. Just continue to grow very, very fast, have a large number of consumers transacting with us on a high frequency basis, and keep providing them great assortment at great prices and a convenient shopping experience. And if we stay clear about what we want to achieve as a company, and we know that's how consumers make decisions even in the offline world when they shop, I think we will be in a happy place.
So most people's thought, and in e-commerce, is most companies don't make money. Does Snapdeal have a road plan as to when that will happen, so that that whole perception changes?
Sure. I mean, I don't think anyone was asking telecom companies back in the late 90s about when are you going to hit profitability, right? There is a certain amount of infrastructure. This is a humongous space, right? The e-commerce space in the next 10 years will be $30-40 billion space. And same with how telecom was slated to be a $100 billion space, which is what it ended up becoming, or somewhere near that. I think it is very myopic to currently start chasing near-term profitability at the cost of not growing your share as a company in the market or not assisting the growth of the overall market, right? That said, imprudent spending of money is never going to be rewarded either, right? While you can spend money upfront, but as long as you spend it prudently on the right things that bring long-term sustainable value to your business, which is building the right technology, which can then be used as a moat around your business, hiring the right people up front, investing in their training, investing in supply chain technologies, et cetera, et cetera. I think those are great investments to make up front, because over a period of time, you can derive a lot more operating leverage out of these investments. But if all you're spending money on is being on TV all the time, right, and hiring thousands of people who are doing deliveries, I mean, I think at some level people start questioning, can you get enough operating leverage out of a business like that?
And what do you see as a sustainable business model in your thought? Today, not when you started, but today, what is a sustainable business model?
Some may say my views are biased on this, but I think in most global markets, and so hence I don't want to make it about what I think, but I can share data points of what the world has seen.
Sure.
Right, so if you look at the largest e-commerce markets in the largest and the largest companies in those e-commerce markets, they're all marketplaces. So whether it's Mercado Libre in Latin America, eBay or Amazon's marketplace business in the US, Taobao in China, Gmarket in South Korea, eBay in Australia, and for that matter to some extent at the cost of being immodest, Snapdeal in India, the growth story is quite consistent, and there's Rakuten in Japan. Right? There are many, many examples of very large, very successful companies. Snapdeal is probably by far the smallest and youngest of the lot, but there are many much larger businesses in much larger markets, which are market leaders in our marketplaces, and especially in emerging markets. And the reason for that is that there is acute fragmentation on the supply side, and the only way you're going to win consumer trust in the long run, in addition to providing decent service or good service, is by giving them certainty of availability of anything that they want on your site. Because if today I want a bed sheet from you and you have it, and tomorrow I want a soap dispenser and you don't have it, the third time I'm going to start questioning, should I even go there and check? So what marketplaces enable in fragmented supply side markets is the ability to aggregate supply across various categories and various sellers and various products, and hence provide certainty of assortment to consumers.
But that only solves half the problem, right? The supply is there now, what about the delivery?
Yeah, so first of all, I don't think building the supply in India is as easy. I think it's still an uphill task to enable sellers and businesses and merchants, large or small, to feel that online can be incremental for their business, which we are seeing less and less. It's a significantly depleting problem, because we have enough case studies of how we've really created life-changing experiences for many of these sellers. In terms of deliveries, actually, we took a bet about 18 months ago when we were at a fork whether we should do self-delivery in terms of put up our own logistics company, taking a cue from many others who had pioneered that in India, or should we depend on third-party logistics companies. And we took a conscious call on third-party logistics because we said that, hey, if we have velocity of demand right? If we can ship millions and millions of packets every year, we have belief in the fact that there will be enough entrepreneurs out there who would then create companies who would cater to the needs of the e-commerce companies' delivery requirements. And we really, I mean, honestly, it was a punt, but it has played out well for us because we've seen a lot of companies open up. I mean, there's companies like Ecom Express, Delivery, Chotu. There are a bunch of companies that have opened up who are now very, very comfortable and very adept at managing e-commerce shipments. And that has created nice, healthy competition between them and the larger carriers, which is making everyone push each other to be service efficient and cost efficient. So I don't think we have a plan of doing self-delivery. I don't think it's necessary to provide a good experience to consumers. It's never the fact that you have to ship. The time the order gets shipped and the time that it gets delivered doesn't necessarily change whether you own the delivery network or not, because it's a human being who has to sit on a bike and go deliver it, either which way. The time that generally why a particular order would take longer in one case versus the other is actually the time to ship, not the time required for shipping to deliver.
Oh, that's it for me. Any parting thoughts?
No, keep the faith.
Unfortunately, we won't have time for questions on stage, but I think Kunal will be around for a few minutes for anybody to approach him and ask him questions. Yeah, thank you again, Kunal.
Thank you. Thanks.
I think that's it for the day. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. We'll be having several other events, one following in September in Chennai. November, we're going to have one in Delhi, then back in Mumbai in Jan. Again, thanks, everyone. Thanks, all the sponsors. Thank you.
This concludes our wonderful conference. Thank you everyone for attending. We have delicious lunch waiting for us. Before we depart, just wanted to thank our sponsors, Akamai, DVS, Google, Atom, Dynaflex, Octane, Ixula, Vinculum, Trendin, Unicommerce, Tata Teleservices, ShopClues, Adguli, and TIE Bangalore. Thank you, and please enjoy your lunch. Bye.